I was at an event a few weeks ago. It was multiple speeches, and there were some good speeches, there were some not so good speeches, and I go not to critique any speaker, but just to learn as a speaker, but also pick up things that I can teach and improve in my own speeches and in the speeches of the clients that I coach. 3 things that I don't want you to do when you speak, and it will make you that much better as a speaker. Number 1, don't tell your audience you're going to tell them a story. Don't say, I'm about to tell you a story, I'm going to tell you 3 stories about. That is a faux pas. Have you ever been to a Cirque du Soleil or a good Broadway play or a great movie? Do they tell you what they're about to do? No. They don't tell you we're going to tell you a story about or we're going to show you this. They just get into it. And that's the magic of the experience. When they jump into the story and they tell you it, trust me, your audience is going to know that you're telling them a story. You don't need to preface it by saying, I'm going to tell you a story. Number 2, make sure your story has a point. Sometimes I will hear speeches and I'll hear stories and I'll be like, oh my gosh, there's so many good points within that story, but what's the main point? What do they want me to take away from this? Have that clear in your mind. What's the point of the speech? What do you want them to take away? What's that main point you want them to take away? Make sure you know that, and everything that's in that story feeds into that point, and it will be that much more powerful, and your audience will remember the story that much more. Finally, this is something I'm guilty of at times, excessive movement. I have ADHD, or I've had ADHD in my life, and so I move around a lot, and it's something I'm still working on. But don't move around all the time. Here's 2 things that I remember in my speeches, or that I'd like you to remember in your speeches, to help you not move excessively. Number 1, let the words of your story dictate your movement. If you're waiting in line, don't pace while you're delivering a story about waiting in line. I was waiting in line. It's okay to plant because that's what you were doing within the story. It's okay to be standing still. So let the words within your story dictate your movement. Number 2, let the line land. What do I mean by that? When you have a phrase that you want your audience to remember, something you want them to take home, even if you're moving around before, stop, pause, and deliver that line. Deliver it standing still, and it will hit home that much more. One of the lines in some of my speeches is, it's not your reality, it's your response, something my mother told me. And when I deliver that line, I say, my mother looked at me and she said, son, it's not your reality that matters, it's your response. You see, when I'm standing still, you remember the line. You're not looking at anything else, you're not distracted by my movement, you remember the line. So if you have a line of your speech that you want to remember, or you want people to remember, stop and deliver it. Remember those 3 things and you'll be a much better speaker. Hope this helps.